Good afternoon from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services National Conservation Training Center in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. My name is Ashley Fortune, and I would like to welcome you all to a new mini-webinar series that is held in partnership with the USGS. This series is part of the Landscape Conservation Cooperatives and Partners Project Outreach Strategy. Just to let you know that a recording of this broadcast will be posted on the USGS YouTube channel. We will get additional information out in the very near future. All right, let's get started. Tim, welcome.
Thanks, Ashley. My name is Tim Kern. I'm one of the principal investigators on the Integrated Data Management Network project, as this title screen shows. This seminar series that Ashley pointed out is going to run from June to August. These are going to cover a number of the topics that are integral to landscape conservation cooperative information management needs. So the Integrated Data Management Project, or IDMN, basically it was addressing the need that we saw with not just LCCs, but a lot of landscape conservation, large landscape projects. There's a fractionated information management landscape. So the project tried to address ways that LCC partners could deal with the sort of these basic building blocks of data management, building and sharing science products with partners, securely storing these data for the long term, evaluating ways to get these outputs to cooperators, and eventually the public. Over the course of the IDM project, the scope was expanded to address different ways to track projects that sponsored these scientific outputs, as well as build communication products and tools to help community members work better together. So a lot of cooperation in this project, not just within the Landscape Conservation Cooperatives, but also with the Climate Science Centers, the National Climate Change and Wildlife Science Center, as well as a number of non-government organizational partners. So the goals we had, which was, number one, assemble a team and then define a core architecture. Basically, we had 6 teams of information management, natural resource, and communication specialists, basically evaluated and tested different approaches to data management problems. From this effort, the teams defined ways different LCCs and landscape level projects could more than just coexist. They could constructively work together and basically, again, build the type of structures you need for large landscape projects where you're not going to have a one-stop shop for anything. So the project is winding down. We have a written report coming out, as well as some web presence for best practices and ideas to go forward. But we want to make sure that this work doesn't stop with the end of the project. We want clearly the working group teams that we had, partners, and then people on these calls can continue to collaborate on integration concepts and pathways. So we're going to be through the seminar series presenting these ideas and then hopefully connecting with the people out there on tying this together for the long term. The pathways that we're talking about, basically, as we go forward, we want to make sure that we're focusing on data sharing options. Data integration partnership, really, basically, it's all about making sure that you can find, share, and distribute these data. The facilitating new integration options is another big idea. So that means coordinating interoperability among different portals, among different repositories, among different catalogs. Every agency, every LCC, a lot of organizations, all are going to have their own presence where they're going to maintain their own data, their own references. We just want to make sure that all of these sites, all of these efforts know about each other and can figure out ways to coordinate. We also want to make sure that we want to deliver guidance documents to groups that are just starting out or retooling their current efforts. And then basically, we want to make sure that we have a lot of support for hardware and software solution partnerships among the LCCs. We know that a lot of LCCs have tremendous natural resource talent. They may need some help on the information management and software end of it. Deliverables of the project were to make sure that we had data application and documentation standards, as well as roadmap to interoperability. The bottom line on these is that we basically generated a variety of products to help fast start these integration pathways. That included metadata and data standards to help groups work together in specific domains, tools to let projects take advantage of their partner capabilities, and collaboration concepts. The presentation today is one of the efforts that works independently from the Integrated Data Management Network, the Basin effort, but one that's right now fully integrated in the guts of what LCCs are doing right now, as well as a number of other large landscape projects. So the schedule that we have going forward, obviously today's presentation is on Data Basin. This is Tasha Comendant, Brendan Ward are the leads on this particular presentation. And the Data Basin effort, it's a key effort in the LCC network. It's basically developed science-based mapping and analysis. Almost every LCC has a presence with Data Basin. Partner portals all use Data Basin quite frequently now. The previous presentation we had was science-based, and Data Basin have a ton of interaction right now. So we see these building blocks being put together. Later efforts, Brendan will also be part of the Integration in Action presentation in July, as well as the later one in July, the Toolshed discussion, along with some other people in the IDM project. Then later in August, we'll cover project tracking and then the next generation of data integration challenges. So this schedule is designed to not just cover what the IDMN project covered, what we handled, what we're generating as products, but also to scope out what the next steps are. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tasha and Brendan to pick up on Data Basin.
Great, thanks. Well, thanks, Tim. My name is Tasha Comendant. I'm a scientist at the Conservation Biology Institute. We are a nonprofit with 30 staff providing scientific and technical expertise to support conservation and recovery of biological diversity. And today I will be presenting about 30 minutes an overview of the general purpose, design, and functionality of Data Basin, one of our projects. And I'm joined, as Tim said, by my colleague Brendan Ward, who's a scientist and software engineer, and he'll be participating as a panelist and available for questions at the end of the session. Over here on the Data Basin homepage at databasin.org, I want to start by introducing terms and showing multiple ways that you can explore, search, and organize resources that are available through Data Basin. I'm going to demonstrate the group collaboration tools and show ways that you can create and customize new items using the Data Basin application, such as map overlays, drawings, galleries, and I'll show how you can upload geospatial data sets and map services like those that are hosted by USGS ScienceBase. So for those who are new, Data Basin is an open access web mapping and science support platform. There's two main services that Data Basin makes available for free. First, you can treat it as a portal to discover and download spatially explicit data and supporting information. And second, Data Basin provides relatively low-tech mapping tools to make it easier to visualize, organize, analyze, and manipulate the data. Data Basin was built to increase access to scientific data, information, and tools, and I think most importantly, to build awareness and capacity for people to engage in conservation issues. And we now have about 9,000 members, and they identify as scientists, practitioners, educators, policymakers, general citizens from a variety of geographies and interests. Most commonly put in people's profile tags are GIS, conservation, landscape ecology, forest, wildlife, climate change, ecosystem services, et cetera. So up here at the very top, you'll see this is where our account information, so accounts are free. It's, without an account, you can explore and look at the information we have, but if you want to download or create new items, you need to set up a free account. So I'll click here to sign in. You can create a Data Basin account, or you can use an existing account that you may have through Google, Facebook, or Yahoo. So I'm signed in up here, and this is where I can administer my profile. You'll also notice there's some links here for more support services or contacting us and sending us feedback. I'm going to work my way. I'm going to give you a brief tour of the home page and then work my way through the navigation here on top. So this top part of the page is very introductory, just to answer some basic questions. And then down here on the bottom, we have some featured content. I'll go through and explain what these items are. Here are some guides and case studies. Here are some recommended items that CBI staff have highlighted here that you can explore or browse through. And then over here on the right, these are called databasing gateways, which are sites that are powered by Basin and curated by members of various organizations or agencies. They're customized to meet the particular needs of those audiences and to showcase spatial information about a particular geography or topic or organization. So here's an example here of the North Pacific Landscape Conservation Cooperative. So you can access these gateways from the Basin homepage, and I encourage you to explore these. This one was recently launched, and there's others for the South Atlantic, the GCPO, the GCP, North Atlantic, and soon to be launched for the Southern Rockies. So there's a great webinar that Tom Newell just gave, for example, going through and spending some time detailing the types of content that are available through this atlas. So over on the CBI homepage here underneath webinars, you can access a recording here of Tom's presentation. Going back over here to the Basin homepage, I'm going to work across the navigation now, just quickly pointing out that if you're new to Basin, underneath the Get Started menu, you can click through a basic tour, look through some of our help videos and links to other webinars. You can do a quick search or launch right into the mapping tool, as well as access glossary and the help and support services I mentioned earlier. Under Explore, starting with data sets. Data sets are spatially explicit files. These contain biological, physical, socioeconomic information and the supporting data and information about the sources and methods. Basin can host Esri shapefiles that are formatted as layer packages, ArcGrid rasters, file geodatabases, NetCDF, time-enabled files, and spreadsheets that have point localities. I'm showing the browse page here. You can see on top there's some recommended data sets, and then you can browse through popular ones. You can click over here to see a full list of all data sets. Basin can also support data sets that are hosted as Esri-based or WMS map services that are hosted on the servers outside of Basin. And what you can do with these data sets is download them. You're also able to upload your own. I'll show that in a minute. And you can organize these data sets into a personal workspace here. So when you find information that's relevant to you, you can create a bookmark and organize it over there in your workspace. Okay, map. We use this term distinct from data sets, and these mean a combination or integration of data sets. These maps have been created and saved by Basin members. They can be opened up. You can customize them. You can switch out a layer, change the colors, and save it as something new. And you can share those out with various audiences. So the browse page, again, gives some examples of popular links to all the available maps, public maps, and I encourage you to explore those. Moving my way up through to galleries. These are essentially folders or collections of data sets and maps that provide an easy way to bundle together related information on a particular project or a publication, or just even for your own organizational purposes. So when you click on the title of the gallery, you can see what information has been aggregated together inside of, and that can be a combination of data sets and maps. Moving my way up to guides and case studies. These are summaries or interpretations of research methods, models, projects, or scientific studies and they've been written by CBI staff, invited guests, other database members, and they're intended to provide examples of how key conservation data sets or maps are being used to have conservation impact. So if you're interested in highlighting your work or publishing a guiding case study, go ahead and contact us. We'd love to work with you on developing guides and case studies. Here underneath Showcase, this is essentially an aggregate page that highlights recommended data sets, maps, galleries, so you can browse through those here underneath Explore. And then moving over to the Community tab, there's two other types of items we want to highlight here. When you create an account, you set up a profile, and so you can see here the distribution of our members in database, and there's over 9,000 now. About 30% come from an academic or research background. About 15% are government, combining federal and local or regional. About 15% come from nonprofit groups, about another 10% corporate, and the rest are other or not specified. Also under Community, there's a browse page for database and groups. I'll explain more about how these work. There's currently 235 public ones as well as hundreds more private groups that are formed. So you can browse through here some of the trending tags and look through groups that are open for people to join as well. Next, I want to move across and introduce you to the Workspace briefly. This is a tool that allows you to bookmark information, come back to it later, organize it into a set of folders. So here you're seeing folders that I've gone through and created previously and then gone in and added data sets to them so that I can access them easily later. The Workspace also keeps track of the maps, galleries, guides and case studies, or data sets that I have contributed or created inside a database. So if you're looking for something you made, it's available to you through here in your Workspace. There's also a messaging system that allows people to contact you within the system as well. Okay, from here, from the Workspace, I'll take the opportunity to show you how the collaborative working group functions. So going inside of one of my groups here, this one is called Linking Climate Change to Protected Areas. You can see there's a welcome page where you can add some text and a photo. There's a content tab here that is where you can create folders and add information to the group. So, for example, we've been using this group to review data inputs to an analysis that we're currently working on with an LCC partner. So if you click on the Members tab here, this is where you can see a list of who's in the group. You can search for people here and go ahead and add them once they have to have a database and account to be added to a group. Once they have that, you can search for them. You can distinguish if they're a member, an administrator, and you can add them to the group here. So this is where that is managed. And then every group also has a public-facing profile that people see here. Groups are easy to create. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. First, I want to, though, show you another important way that you may explore. That was sort of the main way that you can browse and organize information and share it with people using the group. Another important way that you would want to find content in databases is through searching. So up here on the right, there's a search field. I'll go ahead and type an example in here, tortoise. And now here on the search results page, you see there's a keyword search here. I can search all of Data Basin, or I can search just within my own content or groups that I'm a part of. I can also add more options here, search conditions. So I may want to narrow down my search or search within different, search for just peer-reviewed papers, peer-reviewed data sets, tags, credits, et cetera here. This is the keyword part. You can see from our search on tortoise, we returned 97 items. It searches against all the content types, the data sets, maps, galleries, guides and case studies, members, and groups. And so you can filter. If I'm only interested here in seeing the data sets, I can click on that one here. I also have options to sort by creation date or name and change some of the display options down here. There's a keyword search, as I just showed. There's also a geographic search, so I can narrow into an area that I'm interested in by panning here, far there, zoom back in. Once I get my extent set here, I click this box in the corner, and now I'm going to run a search that pairs both the keyword and the geographic search together. You can run them independently, or you can pair them together to narrow your search. When you find a data set that you're interested, or a map, or any of our items that you're interested in finding out more about, you can click on its title. There's also an action hover menu you get over here. If you know right away you want to open it, or if you want to add it to organizational spaces, or if you just want to download it straight from here, you can do this with the action menu. I'm going to click on the title here. Every item has a overview page with a unique URL, so if I copy that and send it to someone, they can come directly to this page. And this is where I find out more information about it, as well as am able to download the data sets that are native to Basin directly. This isn't the case in terms of web services that haven't been integrated, like some of the USGS ones. You can download, or you can add it to your bookmark or created galleries or groups. If you're the owner of the data set, you also have options to manage it here. So this is where there's details. In this case, this is an analysis by the BLM, and in the description here, you can see they've defined categories, so you can hit more here and read more about this. There's some details about the data providers. Underneath this tab here, there's even more information about the attributes and direct links to the metadata files here as well, and some usage information about how people within Basin have used this file. And if you hover over the map right here, you can directly from these overview pages launch into the mapping tool. I'd quickly like to show you how to add to bookmark. I have a folder for tortoises, so I'll go ahead in here and hit submit. So it's as simple as underneath the add, you can create a bookmark there. So at this point, we've gone through the basic ways that you can explore and organize the information. So now I want to focus some time here on how to create new items in Basin. First, I'll start here with create a gallery. As I mentioned, these are folders, so it's as simple as giving it a title and determining whether you'd like the gallery to be public, in which case everyone can see it, or private, in which case it's only visible to you or people you take an action to share with, either within a group or change the settings of the items to give somebody access to that. So we encourage you to fill out descriptive titles and descriptions and tags, and then you can add a thumbnail here by browsing to it and uploading photo, and go ahead and hit submit. At that point, to add information into your gallery, you would have found an item that was of interest to you and gone to its overview page, clicking on its title, and in this case, go ahead and add it to a gallery. And then it'll ask me which gallery I'd like to add it to, and I hit submit. So that's all there is to creating galleries. Groups are similar in the sense that they need to be given a title. Again, you decide if it's public or private. The public group, the profile is visible to everyone, and users will see a button on there that allows them to join the group. If you know that the membership is already set and you want to keep it limited, you can choose to have your group be private, and therefore it's only visible to members, and in order to add new members, it has to be done inside the group by the administrator. So again, we'll just private, we'll give it a tag, and we'll hit submit. And that's all there is. Again, if I want to add groups, I go back over to members. I'll search here for Brendan, and I'll make him an administrator, and I'll add him to the group. Moving along here, next I'd like to show you how to import data to Basin. The first step is to contact us here at databasin@consci.org, and we'll set your account to allow for dataset import. We have some text down here underneath upload a file that provides some guidance about file sizes and recommendations for uploading and specifications about formats, et cetera, here. So you can upload files that you would browse to. They need to be formatted as layer packages so that they have the styling in there. And we require you to describe a number of fields and provide as much information as available during upload. You can also upload, as I said, map services that are hosted on external agency or organization servers. And what I want to highlight today is the integration that was a result of the IDMN project, where we've made it much easier to upload information that's being hosted inside ScienceBase. So, for example, I have a ScienceBase page open here. And so I'll show you where you need to access the information to upload it to Basin. So on this sciencebase.gov page, if you click underneath Browse by Category, there's a data field there. And then over here on the left, I'm going to select Map Service under Type. And then I'm going to select here underneath Extensions, the ArcGIS service definition. And then I identify an item that I'm interested in uploading. So take a look here at the Western rattlesnake. So what I do here is now just copy the URL, go back over here to the import page, and then underneath this third section, import from another catalog, paste the URL in here, agree to the terms of use for Basin, and hit submit. And Brendan may be able to elaborate more at the end, but one of the important aspects of this is that the metadata has been locked down over on the ScienceBase side so that when changes are made by the authoritative source, those make it back over here to Basin. So we didn't make another copy of this, for example. So we've made it easier to go directly from this data set in Basin right back to the ScienceBase record, as well as creating options for downloading this data, getting right to where you can download the source data. So this integration made this process much more smooth, and hopefully will save us and our partners time and effort and create an easier connection between the ScienceBase system and Basin. Okay, so now I want to move into the last portion of this, where I'll spend some time demonstrating how the Basin mapping tools work, our dynamic mapping tools. So from here, as you know, if I click Open in Map, I will launch a base map, and then this data set will be set up. An alternative way is underneath Create. If I go ahead and just hit Create a Map, I have then launched into the mapping tool, which is really the most complicated part of Basin. And so we're looking now at a blank base map here. Up here on the top, there's a button that says Show Map Guide, and you can get that away here with this X. I'll click play here just to quickly point out that if you come back later, you can see where the icons for adding data, creating drawings, finding locations on the map, or where you change the base map, and how you can easily export the view into images and PowerPoint, and where you have options to save your map for later. So I'll click that away. If you need any reference there, you can show the map guide again there. So first off, I'm going to add some data to our map and then show you how the toolbar works. So this pop-up allows you to go ahead and search. I could just click on a data set that was recently browsed through the browse pages, or one that I may have recently viewed here. Let's look at the suitable desert habitat here. I'm going to select that, and now you can see it's highlighted in yellow, and then hit Add Item. So these data sets are at rest in the Amazon cloud until we ask them to open up, and so you wait until your map loads here. For example, making my way now across this toolbar underneath Tasks. This is where if we're going to integrate layers together and come back and use this again, we may want to save our map. We have a link to adding more data sets to it, drawing layers. As I mentioned, you can export this as a PDF or an image or as a PowerPoint file as well. Easy access to that there. When you save your map, which I'll just do here as an example, you can decide if you want it to be public or private, and then you have some additional options for commenting, et cetera, here on your map. So I'll go ahead and just save that, hit Submit. You can now see underneath Tasks, if your map is saved, you have some additional options here for adding it directly to a gallery or a group or to your workspace. Next, underneath View, this is where you can quickly access the pop-ups that we use for a locator map, the data sets pop-up, a legend, comments, attachments, et cetera. So if you want to access any of these again, you find them here underneath View. There's a zoom function over here on the left to zoom in and out. You also have here a pan mode, as well as a zoom here. So if I'm on this and I want to go into a smaller area, I can simply do that here with the pan and the zoom. We support 9 or so base maps that you can change quickly here through the base map tab there. We'll add more of those as they become available. Moving over to the right, the next button, Locate. This allows you to type in a name of a place, hit Submit, identify where it is, and then it provides the option to add a point. So this creates essentially a drawing in database in here. So I'll zoom into that so we can see our point there. You'll notice here that one drawing has been created, and there's a pop-up here that allows you to style your drawing, for example, here. If I want to edit this, perhaps I want to make the color difference and increase the size of my dots, I can do that here. There's also options, as I mentioned, under Tasks to add other types of drawing layers. So in this case, I have options to create polygons or lines or add highlights, points, text, for example. Zoom back out here a little bit. Over here. So if I wanted to add a drawing, for example, with a polygon, I can give it a title. I'll go ahead here and create a drawing area. I want to style that and hit Submit. So now you see I have 2 drawings over here on my map. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to add another data set. I'll show you quickly that we can search for, let's search again for tortoise. Here, an example, desert tortoise from Gap. Add that into my map here. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. Tucson. Great. Okay. I'm able to move the layers around here by grabbing one and moving it just up on top of the other one. If I want my suitable habitat on top, or if I want my distribution on top, I can move those around here. This is also where I have options to adjust the style. If I want to change, for example, the colors associated with any of the parts of my map, I can go ahead and do that here. If I have options for styling, I'll go ahead and change the transparency here as well. Right here in this arrow is where you have options for styling and customizing your map. There's also an option here for analyzing. You can run a series of tools here. We have some other webinars where we can demonstrate those. The basic idea is that you can either based on your drawing or by identifying a selection of an area, you can run this tool that will allow you to summarize what's inside your area of interest. So it'll tell us what percentage of a habitat or how many polygons from a particular area, and goes through and summarize those. And there's also some basic buffer tools available here, and these are available through a subscription to Basin. I'll add one more data set here to show that I'll pull one out of my bookmark as an example here. I'm going to look and see what protected areas might be available here in the area where we have habitat of high importance to the desert tortoise. So we can use this map to ask questions about what's on the landscape. So I'll go ahead here. Now you can see the protected areas data. There's a lot of information here, so maybe I would want to filter that down. So I have an option here to say, let me look at just the subset of the land ownership here. So maybe I'll select the federal land, state and local, go ahead and establish a filter here to make my map to help me drill down into the information that I'm most interested in looking at. Lastly, along our toolbar here, I'm going to zoom in a little closer. You can see there's a little eye here. If you go ahead and click on that, you can identify a particular area. So this is protected areas. So you can look in here and see that this is owned by Arizona State Land Board, it's in state trust, and we can look through the information that's available for this particular area. There's also here a tool that allows you to measure areas and distances. That's available here, either both by area or distance. And you can also select areas. If we, again, just select this area here, we can then look at the attributes for that information that we've selected here. Selection. Great. So I think I have gone through all of the aspects of how you access information and organize it, and shown you how the tools inside the mapping window work. So at this point, I think I'd like to open it up to my colleague Brendan to make any comments, or open it up, Ashley, for questions.
Excellent. Brendan, did you have any comments that you'd like to make before we open it up?
No.
Okay. So, Tasha, if you could just take us back to the main page for now. All right. We do have one from Susan, and it says, "Are data sets vetted?"
Vetted. That's a great question. During the upload process, there is a field that you can determine what degree of peer review the data set has been through. There's peer review, other types of categories as well. So there is the ability to set those. We don't review the data set on an individual basis. We certainly have required a high level of information to go in. So you have to, for example, have a title that is people can read. You have to define the attributes. So we've tried to set a high standard to allow people to find the information that they need to evaluate whether this is a good data source for the purpose that they have. So we try to provide ways for the credits to be made obvious, and the ability for people to interact with the data providers and ask direct questions as they see fit.
Excellent, thank you. And then we have a question from Tony. It says, we're using ArcGIS 10.2. Is the format compatible with your system?
And I'm going to let you take that one since we've been undergoing a major upgrade to our system in that sense.
Yes. We've just upgraded our ArcGIS servers to 10.2.2, and we do support layer packages created using that. We have one little bug we're working through right now related to the layer file associated with 10.2, but that should be resolved in the next day or two. If you run into any issues during upload, including not supported formats, projections, etc., please contact us, and we'll help you work through it.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're very open to any type of follow-up question and feedback. On that home page up near the top, there was easy access to contacting us. We like to interact with our users very regularly, so please, if you have questions, don't hold back or comment. We're very excited about the ongoing projects we have with the LCCs and others within the conservation community, so I think it's going to be an exciting year. We're going to be building conservation planning atlases for the Desert LCC and the Great Basin, and a regional atlas for 4 of the LCCs up in Alaska, as well as one that will come online from the Pacific Islands Conservation Climate Change Cooperative. So there'll be both exciting growth in quality content as well as new tools and ways to use the information. So yes, please don't hesitate to contact either Brendan or myself with any follow-up questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tasha and Brendan. And just as a reminder, our next webinar will be on July 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if you haven't registered, please do so. And the link is in the email that Leanne Wilson has sent out. So Tasha, Tim, and Brendan, thank you very much. Did you have anything else? Or?
No, that's it. Thanks, Ashley. And thanks, everybody, for attending. And please sign up for the next webinar.